Hello everybody, I'm Alexey Krabarov, the organizer of devreal.ai, and here we are on location at METIS, which is a data science education institution nationwide. It's in San Francisco location, and we have an amazing meetup tonight. We have two talks, and one of the talks is Antonio Valderrabanos from Bitext. Welcome, Antonio.
Thank you very much.
So we don't often see you here. Where do you come from, and what does your company do?
Okay. I'll make sure we meet each other more often. So we come from Spain, Madrid, Spain. That's where the production center of the company is, and we have sales and operations, etc. Based here because most of the clients, most of the customers are based here in the Bay Area. What do we do? The shortest path is NLP middleware. Mm-hmm. So wherever you have an application that handles text and needs good NLP technology, multilingual particularly, that's where we have the sweet spot, as you call it.
Mm-hmm. And so Bitext, I know it's an established company, does a lot of work. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit what kind of clients are kind of the main users of Bitext technology.
Okay. Typical clients would be Marlogic, Medallia, Salesforce, mm-hmm. And a couple of others that we shouldn't mention. They're too big and they don't like it. Mm-hmm. Why we focus on that kind of market? Multilinguality. When mm-hmm. a company is serious about any project, whether it is about project or a customer experience analysis project, they will want 20, 30, up to 50 languages. We have done, and that's why that's our typical market, although we also have an API. All these services via an API that make them affordable and available to anyone. Mm-hmm.
So the globalization, right? Like it's a driver of multilinguality.
That's right. That's a good summary.
Is it mostly kind of companies big enough to kind of overstep, let's say, US market? Uh-huh. So do you see more of your clients as big companies, or there are small companies using multilingual features? Like, how do you see it in terms of size, in terms of focus?
I'd say the focus on text, high quality, and multilinguality. Mm-hmm. That would be the. If you're not that kind of a big company, we still have the API. Mm-hmm. Or we have done some work for startups. I mean, basically, we're not a huge company. We're well established, as you said, but mm-hmm. we're not the next Salesforce of NLP. So basically, anyone who has a good problem is welcome. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so what is your approach to NLP, right? There is a statistical NLP, there is kind of linguistic NLP. Uh-huh. Where do you stand on the spectrum?
Okay. As you know, it's not black and white, so it's not everything or nothing. But within that spectrum, you define we're closer to the symbolic or linguistic approach, mm-hmm. Rather than to the statistical mm-hmm. one. Hence the accuracy or the quality.
Mm-hmm. So how did you come to this area yourself? What are your driving forces?
Okay. First step was I did a lot of work for companies in Europe that had their headquarters here. So mm-hmm. that gives you already an impression, no, of what's going on here. Why it's so important. And then some of my colleagues came here to live while I remained in Spain. Mm-hmm. You come here on holidays, you come say, this is fun, this is a nice place. No?
Yes.
And then we were very lucky to get engaged with Microsoft Salesforce in their marketing cloud mm-hmm. as a multilingual provider mm-hmm. of sentiment and entity extraction. Mm-hmm. That made me think, hey, we may have the technology that we think. Let's go there.
Yeah, this is great. Salesforce, by the way, is a major supporter of our meetups and conferences, and so okay. Salesforce Einstein mm-hmm. is now a really big player. So we have a conference in November uh-huh. where we have at least 10 speakers from Salesforce Einstein, right? Okay. And I think the kind of AI focus nice. Is really kind of picking up, right? It's one of the first consumer products, I would say, doing this. So that's really exciting because we have like multiple elements. So I'm curious. It sounds to me, and prove me wrong, that I think Europe is very multilingual, right? Like uh-huh. like you move a few miles, there is a different language, right? And within Spain, right? Like you have Catalonian, you have Spanish, right? Like you have Castilian and so forth. So is it kind of one of the ingredients of your kind of success being multilingual? Do you have access to all these linguists who reside in Europe? Why do you think that kind of you guys are in demand in that specific field?
I think that definitely plays a role. So at least being a speaker of 2, 3, 4 languages, and that's something typical in Europe, that gives you an edge, an advantage, because you know there are different languages, you know they behave differently, and the software for handling them is not going to be the same. No?
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other thing is that Madrid in particular is becoming a very good spot, particularly after the crisis,
Mm-hmm.
for good talent and reasonable prices, which is a sensible topic here.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard. No? For example, Amazon opened a development center in Madrid recently. And some other companies are considering that. So I guess it's the combination of both.
So previously I heard a lot of folks were in Barcelona, right? But I recently met some startups which settled in Madrid.
Yes. It's an easygoing place. You know, it's a bit like here. No, you find someone in a bar, and maybe the last question out of curiosity will be where are you from, but it's not like in other places where being from there or not from there makes a difference. It's a very open place, fun, like San Francisco.
Yeah, I found like a lot of international folks based in Madrid, but they may be from Netherlands, Eastern Europe, and they come here. So that sounds great.
Another factor that I forgot to mention, out of the 10 best business schools in the world, 2 are based in Madrid, which is funny, no? Or uncommon. And that's probably one of the reasons why so many foreigners are based. They come to Madrid, study, have their MBA or something like that, and then start up there.
Interesting. So you've been in this business for a long time, and I think it's really kind of key factor, I would say, right, when you're choosing industry partners. But in the last 2 years, we had this proliferation of chatbots. Like if you go to a trade show, there are 5 companies, 10 companies, everybody got a chatbot, right? And essentially, kind of we're at this stage where a lot of people think that this is super easy. You just throw in some JavaScript, you know, glue together some APIs, and suddenly you have a chatbot, right? And so, I mean, I kind of feel this is not the case. But what do you think of what does it mean for the space? Because I mean, to me, it's inevitable there will be a bloodbath in the future. Like all these chatbots, half of them are going to go away. This should be consolidation. But you know, I'm not specific on this space. What do you think is going to happen with this kind of sudden burst of chatbot interest?
To some extent, under normal circumstances, I'd be skeptical. No? About 10 years ago, there was another similar wave. Difference this time is that you have big companies like Amazon, with Amazon Echo. You have Google Home. Apple is joining that space. And Microsoft is also announcing a smart speaker by the end of the year. Also, I mean, that's one business area that makes a difference. No, those things are selling. Amazon, I think, sold 3 million.
Yes, they ran out of them last Christmas.
Exactly. So that will make a difference. So if there is something in your house and that thing is listening and talking, you talk to that. And chances are that will become a business, because either like it or not, we'll end up buying 1 or 5 of those from these companies. No? The other thing is that also the major bot development platforms are run by these type of companies. So Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, and I forgot the other one. So when you put these giants pushing in one direction, something's going to happen. No? So I think the technology is going to be pushed to the edge. Also, the technology is in a much better position now than it was a while ago. I think it's also a very nice space for a hybrid architecture where you combine statistics and symbolic knowledge, because there is no training data, and that's precisely where you fit. There's no training data for bots. No way at the scale where machine learning needs that. So there's something that's more problem to solve. But I think if we solve that, bot will get conversational, more, a better experience, and easier to handle.
Right, and so, I mean, it's obviously it's very good for Amazon and Apple to have all this data coming into their systems. How is it good for small guys? How is it good for the community, right? How do we get our hands on this data?
Okay, we definitely have a strategy for getting into that, because our focus in this new value chain is to be the NLP middleware, like I said at the beginning. So typically, we will allow you to train your bot and make it NLP aware, so to say, just by plugging in one component via our API. Some one way or the other will be listening there, no? For the general world, that's definitely a challenge, no? The data is so much of a challenge that some companies are coming out saying we're private. Distribute your data. No?
Right.
I think, like they said, data is the new oil. I don't see any big changes there.
Yes. I like the middleware concept, right? Because if you become very skilled and very specialized in certain aspects, it sounds like the big players will want to work with you, right? Like they want to plug in, and that I think that was the kind of a feature of the market beforehand. You become very good at something, and you provide that as a service.
I mean, look at Alexa. Alexa was released, I think, 2014, December. It's almost 3 years later. We have only one language and a half. They have released English and a bit of German. US Germans. And the
Sur Amazonas.
So how come? I mean, that's a fashion, poshy kind of gadget that everybody will want to buy in Spain, Germany, France, China, wherever. And it's not happening. It's a lack of language capabilities, I think.
Interesting. So maybe the skills architecture needs to be more transferable.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. Don't design and implement for just one single language.
Well, this is a great thought. So we'll live, on this thought. We'll look forward to your technical talk, and great to have you back. And thank you very much for coming. Looking forward.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.